Well, let's take you up north now. Residents of Tinguri in the West Mamprasi municipality of the northeast region have been hit by a severe water shortage. A visit to the community by Joy News found that the situation was completely disturbing the economic and social activities of the inhabitants as well. The only facility that provides clean drinking water for the community has broken down and remained unrepaired for almost 2 years now. The community dam has also dried up, leaving the people without any alternative to resort to water from a running breach and some other unwholesome sources for various domestic uses. Correspondent Ilyasu Tanko has more.
It is 8 a.m. here at Tinguri, a small town in the rural West Mamprasi municipality, located about 20 kilometers away from the municipal capital along the Wale-Wale-Nalerigu Road in the northeast region. The weather is hazy and dry, yet these women and their young ones have already spent the last 4 hours waiting at this borehole facility to get water. They have set off this early with the hope of getting the water quickly for domestic purposes before preparing for the farms. But even with extra effort, water barely flows from the borehole.
Before you get the water, unless the sun shines, around 5 to 6, that you get one. You just get once and go and pour. And because we are not getting the water fast, we are children. The children always go to school late, and our work to the same. Our work to always go back because of the water. So we are just suffering because of the water. That's our problem. The water is our problem.
This has been a routine problem that women in this community have had to constantly face during the dry season. The situation has, however, worsened in the last 2 years following the breakdown of the only water supply system in the community provided years ago by a non-governmental organization. Leila Guma complains that the scarcity of water has made life generally difficult for them as they now have less sleep and go to the farm late.
Benjo abaiti ya mole fajiriza katapun jirakpa antu fole bulshiaje bulane kanwangwa bati ya mo fajiri gba kiche be nyakum she ikucha anje pa hale kana antu wurikinya benjo ata dadanwa da man kani intati da zugo ko ma ngon kunya ta fawla nan nambar mo.
The other main sources of water supply aside from the boreholes are hand-dug wells and this post-colonial era dam. Community members have always depended on this dam for water supply during a period like this. However, since rehabilitation works were carried out 3 years ago as part of the government One Village, One Dam initiative, the dam has suffered serious structural defects and is no longer reliable. As a result, the residents are left with no alternative but to depend on water from this gutter.
Dry season, there's no water. So that's why dry season that we have been coming here to fetch water. And you know the greens and the worms are out of the water. So if you want to drink in the night, or if a small child wants to fetch the water and drink, we always worry because there are some things in the water that we all know that the water is not good. But because we have nothing to do, that's why we are fetching this water.
The water is reddish and milky and does not have any spot specifically reserved for the people to fetch water without stepping into it.
The dam from few months to come, there will not be water again. It will just finish totally. Unless we come here, we will not get water.
The assemblyman for the area, Idrisu Bugzia, explained the challenge with the water supply system. He also gave details of why the dam hasn't been able to hold water since the One Village, One Dam rehabilitation works.
The major problem we have with regards to this dam is there is a leakage over there. just directly behind this, my brother, where you just see the depression. Growing up, we were told it is a hole dug by crocodiles, so it leaks through to the other end. When those one down people equally came, they also tried their hands on it, and then still the thing has opened again.
The assembleman is appealing for immediate assistance.
We are suffering. We are thoroughly suffering, and we wish that the government, NGOs, and all those who matter should kindly come to our aid.
Reporting for Joy News, Elias Sutanko, Tinguri.
Now, when the Upper East regional town of Paga is mentioned, only one tourist site actually comes to mind, and crocodile ponds as well. But it will interest you to know that Paga is also home to the Pikworo slave camp, which is a very important historical landmark for the community. Although little is known of it, dating back to as early as 1704, this slave camp is known to be a place where slaves from northern Ghana and southern Burkina Faso were often kept for several days before they were carted to the Salaga slave market in the Savannah region for sale and onward transit out of Africa. For our Ghana Month series, Joy News' Upper East correspondent Elvis Sori puts a spotlight on the Pikworo slave camp located in the Nania suburb of Paga in the Kasna Nankana West District.
Pikworo is a small area of land in the Nania suburb of Paga. The name Pikworo in the Kasam language simply means a lot of rocks, and it was so named obviously because of the rocky, hilly nature of the area. The history has it that in the early 18th century, this place was a thick forest and tampered with by humans, until one day a strange man showed up and mingled with the locals. He pretended to be offering help to people who wanted to travel abroad to work with white people. Pikworo was allocated to this man because he wanted a place to stay. It turned out he was a slave capturer.
Around 1704, a young man who was a black man came and settled here, and he was not willing to tell much about himself to the people who were living in the village as at that time. So the people gave him a name in Kasem, Bagao, meaning a bushman. And this man, according to history, he could speak so many local languages. He was physically and spiritually strong, and he was having weapons which were given to him by the white people. So he came and started the whole business here in small scale, capturing young men and ladies, keeping them here. From here he take them to Salaga slave market, where they were sold out to retailers, and from there they were marched through Asimanso, Asimfosu, down to the Cape Coast Castle, and they were being handed over to the white people.
Joseph Kugoramu is a tour guide here at the Pikworo slave camp. He takes us on a tour of the camp. First, we learn of the arrival place for the slaves in those days. The slaves were often tied to these trees upon arrival here at Pikworo. Later in the evenings, they would be marched through this route and up this hill. On the hill, they drank water from this small well here on the rocks. It is believed to date that this well never dries up. Meals for the slaves were also prepared here on the rocks. The meals were served for the slaves to eat in these little trenches carved out on the rocks. Basically, the trenches were their plates. After meals, the slaves were entertained in a rather interesting way.
Over here, slaves were brought anytime they finished their supper in the evening to this place. It was compulsory for them to be entertained, to make them reduce the emotional stresses they were passing through. These are two rocks near to each other which sound differently if you hit any part of them, slightly different like the traditional drums we have in the village.
The type of music performed on these rocks in the days of the slave trade has remained with the people of Paga even to date. These men here gave us a feel of that music. We are also shown this rock, which was used as a watchtower by the slave masters to look out for slave raiders or any of the slaves that were trying to escape. The final point of the Pikworo slave camp is what was called the punishment rock, and then the cemetery.
As the slaves were very tall and they were giants, their legs could be down here fully. Then their hands would be behind them. So they were being chained against the rock, tightly against the rock. So you were told to sit on the rock with your eyes widely open, watching the sun. And the punishment starts from sunrise from the east. So you were watching the sun as it rises from the east, follow the sun with your eyes widely open, and accompany the sun till it set in the west. That is almost 12 hours here during the punishment. And if you try to close your eyes, you were accompanied by beatings. Many were not fortunate to survive this punishment, and those of them who were not fortunate to survive it were all laid to rest here in the cemetery.
As old as the Pikworo slave camp is, it was never converted into a tourist site until the year 2000. But even then, many Ghanaians up until now are unaware of this important historical landmark. There is little maintenance or decoration of the site and no ancillary facilities to attract tourists.
Normally, we don't get visitors. Sometimes in a week, we can get 2 or 3 visitors in a week, a whole week.
Per Charles Awia Awampaga II is the paramount chief of the Paga traditional area. He will be celebrating his 50th anniversary on the chieftaincy scheme this year. He says throughout his reign, he has tried in many ways to get the needed support for the Pikworo slave camp to make it as popular as the Paga Crocodile's Pond, but to no avail.
At first we don't know. At first we don't want anybody to go to that place. But now we realize that it's a tourist center. That's why I came out to bring it out. At first, people from Switzerland and other places, they used to come there. They help a lot. But they stopped almost 3 years ago. They don't come again. Since it's a tourist center, we will repeat the disassembly to come back fully and then help at the Pikworo place so that it will go up.
For the Ghana Man series here on Joy News, my name is Albert Sorry, reporting from the Pikworo slave camp in the Nania town of Paga.
And that's an interesting site you may want to visit later on. This is The Pulse. We'll return after this break.